The occupying Russian army carried out another pipe operation and attempted to attack the positions of the Ukrainian armed forces. Preparations for the operation carried out on October 27 had been underway since July. However, the Ukrainian army's knowledge of the information left the occupiers' intention unfinished. A Russian soldier captured by the Ukrainian army spoke about the next unsuccessful pipe operation of the occupying Russian army and its consequences. The prisoner said that 29 out of 30 participants in the operation, which was prepared since July and carried out on October 27 in the city of Sudzha, Kursk region of Russia, were killed. The occupiers, who entered the 1.40-meter diameter pipe in Sudzha on carts, covered a distance of 25 kilometers in 3 days and emerged in the Sumy region of Ukraine. However, since the Ukrainian fighters knew about this intention of the occupiers in advance, they were ready and the Russian soldiers who came out of the pipe were shot. The only survivor and later captured soldier said that he hid in a bunker for 10 days, and then Ukrainian fighters discovered him. It should be noted that this is not the first pipeline operation by the Russian army. During the cleansing of the city of Sudzha from Ukrainian fighters, Russian soldiers also used a gas pipeline for passage. Recall, in March, as part of an offensive to retake territory in the Kursk region, Russian troops crawled through a section of a decommissioned gas pipeline in an effort to slip behind Ukrainian lines. The mission quickly became a patriotic spectacle in Russia. A soldier who allegedly took part in the operation describes how some men suffocated inside the pipeline, while others died by suicide. In pursuit of the myth of heroic penetration, Russian military personnel climbed into an old gas pipeline, through which gas had been pumped to Europe for years. However, Russian commanders did not even bother to think that the pipe had accumulated residues of technical oils, toxic resins, combustion products, rust, heavy hydrocarbons, and condensates. When inhaled, these substances destroy mucous membranes, cause severe chemical burns of the respiratory tract, and can provoke the development of chronic toxic pneumonia and even oncology. In addition, there was virtually no oxygen in the confined space of the pipe. The soldiers suffered from hypoxia and inhaled chemical vapors, which has already led to poisoning of varying degrees of severity for many of them. According to doctors, the soldiers' lungs are so damaged that they will most likely never recover. And all this for the sake of a banal propaganda show and an attempt to pass off an insignificant episode as a heroic special operation. In reality, there was practically no military effect from this adventure, but dozens of soldiers are now doomed to lifelong illnesses and disabilities. As a result, Russian propaganda is inflating victorious reports, hiding the real consequences.
27 октября 2025 года нас привезли в Суджу. Погрузили, зашли в блиндаж. В блиндаже была труба. Газа. Мы пошли по трубе. Шли трое суток, 25 километров. Эту операцию запланировали в разведке с июня месяца. Они периодически ходят. Уходили в эту трубу, уносили туда ТМки и одноразки. И одноразки туда уносили. Я в этой трубе был только один раз. Зная то, что несколько человек ходило в этой трубе, все заготавливали тележки, кислородные баллоны. В трубе газом не пахнет. Труба газовая, диаметр 1,40 м. Мы шли на тележках. Одна тележка на два человека. В тележке погрузили рюкзаки, бронежилет и катили. В трубу зашло 30 человек. С трубы вылезло 30 человек. В этот же день всех сразу размотало, всех убили, и я один остался живой. Выход из трубы уже контролировали украинские военные. Из трубы больше никто не выходил. Меня завалило в блиндаже, в лисьей норе. Пока я пролежал 10 дней, пока не пришли солдаты ВСУ и не откопали меня.
Russian military propagandist and Z-blogger Arutyunov, known by the call sign Razvedos, admitted that the convoy of Russian troops filmed entering Pokrovsk has already been destroyed. In his Telegram channel, he harshly criticized one of the occupiers who filmed the group's movements on a mobile phone and passed it on to Z-War correspondents. According to him, everything happened precisely because of the leak of the video itself, which was allowed by Russian war correspondents. Because of that asshole who filmed this and leaked it online, today there's a pile of 200s and burned out equipment in this area, he wrote, confirming the scale of the losses. He added that the current war is like a drone war, where artillery has been abolished and mortars thrown into a ravine. Essentially, this is an admission of the complete helplessness of Russian attack aircraft in the face of modern warfare, where Ukrainian FPV drones destroy everything that moves. Ukrainian forces in Pokrovsk continue to carry out pinpoint strikes against the enemy, destroying equipment and personnel. Russia, meanwhile, continues to send new convoys into the flames, turning the city into a symbol of the invading army's insane losses. Media previously reported that footage of a routed column of occupiers had been published online. The infiltration of Russian troops into Pokrovsk under cover of fog on November the 10th, which Z-bloggers dubbed a breakthrough, ended with the column being routed and effectively driven into the ground. At present, the problem, however, is that the Russians have the momentum in Pokrovsk, and it may be impossible for the Ukrainians, outnumbered 5-1, to seize it from them. Russian forces will very likely seize Pokrovsk and Mirnorad. The Institute for the Study of War in Washington concluded, President Volodymyr Zelenski has insisted that Ukrainian soldiers are not being pushed to die for the sake of ruins in the defense of Pokrovsk, as concerns mount over the fate of the embattled city. I will support our soldiers, especially commanders who are there, how they can control the situation, or it's too costly for us. The most important for us is our soldiers. The Russians succeeded in infiltrating Pokrovsk following a brutal year-long siege, in part because the salient battle drew the 1st Azov Corps into fighting north of Pokrovsk, keeping it from fighting in Pokrovsk, which was garrisoned by 2 exhausted Ukrainian units. The 68th Jaeger Brigade and the 155th Mechanized Brigade began retreating north in late October. Now that the 1st Azov Corps is on the verge of winning the salient fight, it's probably too late to do much for Pokrovsk. Pokrovsk, a once thriving mining city of 60,000 people, is almost certainly lost, as is smaller Mirnorad. The Ukrainian forces, romping to victory in the disappearing Dobropilya salient, may end up staying in the area, buttressing a new defensive line north of Pokrovsk.